Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
StevieRichardsFitness.com. Join the SRF resistance today. Russo'sBrand.com. Get the real shoot from the most controversial personality in wrestling, Vince Russo. Zordo's Greek Olive Oil. Give the gift of the best authentic Greek olive oil this Christmas, Zordo's Greek Olive Oil. Imported directly from the Zordo's family gardens in Greece, this gourmet olive oil will be the best one-of-a-kind gift for any chef, foodie, friend, or family member in your life. This gift can be enjoyed all year round. Visit www.zordosoliveoil.com.
Must unlearn what you have learned. Use the Force, Luke.
I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
How rude! Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
Wokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster if you sad kid.
So one day he's still alive.
Don't give in to hate. That leads to the dark side.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Jedi, Sith, Mandalorians, lovers and haters, everything, everybody in between, to another exciting episode of the new Force Order
For life.
podcast, a Star Wars podcast by us, three of the handsomest, sexiest, smartest, scruffiest nerf herders in a galaxy far, far away, aka the nFo, the New Force Order, aka the fans, and we're delivering it to you, the fans, the ungrateful, the unappreciative, the haters, and those who are grateful and appreciative and very thankful for episode 9 and everything the mouse has done in the galaxy far, far away. I am flying through these parsecs with two of my brothers in arms. One of them is a sexy, malicious, vicious, vindictive Exegol citizen. And the other is a pretty, witty, thunder-stealing, Babu-free, friend, medical droid. Boys, smarten up the market.
I am the Dark Lord of the podcast, the Sithari, the Rampaging Reverend Kiss, which means that I am fully canon right now. I am the Butcher, your boy Spiro, aka Darth Spiridon.
I am smarter than 21B, more technical than FX7, the god of steel and thunder, and the man who wants to know, how you doing, old buddy? Dr. Destroyo, Alex Arroyo. Woo! And if you didn't get that, that was Lando's intro in the new movie. How, Chewbacca, how you doing, old buddy? Overacted to the end. Love him.
Tell the princess I'm giving her my love.
Yeah, wink, wink.
Speaking of Lando, speaking of everybody, episode 9 has dropped last week. We were 10 deep, rocking the nFo colors, taking over the movie theater, having a good time. Boys, in one word, can you describe episode 9 to the viewers, to the listeners?
Yes, I've been using this word all week. Magnificent.
Satisfied.
I will say epic. Because I'm going to say something right now.
Uh-oh.
Get ready to be controversial.
nFo style.
For life.
For life.
I've seen online the typical division in the Star Wars fandom, even with this movie. I've seen the hate. I've seen people complaining already about everything and anything regarding this movie. But the funny thing, the ironic thing is I can personally say I know a lot of people who went and saw this movie, both casual fans, both diehard fans, and just casual moviegoers who enjoy a good film. Everyone I know, everyone, and I mean everyone, loved this film, except one person, and that was my brother. Which
He was serious about not liking it, huh?
Yeah,
I thought he was kidding, man.
He went on Facebook and said and wrote a post, and he said there was good parts in the film, but overall he didn't like it. So, I'm not gonna knock him. He's not one to complain. He just stated his opinion and why, and he backed it up, and that was it. But on a scale to 1 to 10 for me, I gave the movie a 9. I think there was a couple of beats in the movie I did not care for. I did not like. There was stuff that looking back, I've seen it twice. I picked up the second viewing where it was shots at, you could say there's shots at Rian Johnson and what he did in episode 8. But overall, this film, in my opinion, was an epic, I wouldn't say conclusion, but an epic end to this trilogy. Maybe a new beginning for something else. But we'll get into that. Boys, you have any thoughts before we dive deep into this?
Before we dive deep into it, I'm just going to say, spoiler alert, everybody at home. We're going to be talking about the movie, not just peripherally. We're going to be going deep into it. Spoilers, the whole 9 yards. So if you have not watched The Rise of Skywalker, turn off your podcast, go listen to something else, come back after you watch it, because we are going to talk about the film. A spoiler alert.
Yeah, man. Spoiler alert. Right before we get into this, I just want to say, man, listen, I'm not gonna argue with people that didn't like it. You can't please everyone, but while I will get into more detail later on in this show, I will debate and I will argue with the reasons why they didn't like it. But aside from your typical, film critics who seem to have this extreme allergy to fun, the hate that we're getting from so-called Star Wars fans is just unbelievable. I'm disgusted by it. There were things in the film that I too was disappointed, but this movie was so good that it just didn't matter.
Yep.
Listen, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a score, I think, of 58, right?
Yep.
Which doesn't mean
anything. Rotten Tomatoes can eat a rotten dick.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
But the fans, they gave it a score of 86 on Rotten Tomatoes, or 87, or whatever the case may be.
If you look at The Last Jedi, it was
complete opposite.
Flipped, exactly, which is funny.
And it's the fans who actually matter.
Listen, you have 3 demographics about that are, or 3 tiers for this film. You have your episode 8 lovers who hate this film. You have your episode 8 haters who love episode 9. And then you have your casual movie fans that love it or hate it for whatever reason. And that's fine. There's a very select few of us that actually loved episode 8 and actually love episode 9. I could say I'm one of the select few. I know Doc is.
Yep.
Hold on one second. Take over the reins. I gotta take care of a little situation over here. So hold on one second.
Flipping it out. Yeah, no, so I agree with Pop. The fact that some people usually, if you like 8, you're not liking 9 now. That's what I've seen. And if you hated 8, you like 9, which is interesting. I honestly, I love both movies. Again, Beats and Last Jedi I didn't like a lot, but overall, I like the movie. I like the tone of the movie. I like the theme of the movie, and I absolutely loved Episode 9. I mean, it was fantastic from start to finish, top to bottom. I saw a funny meme the other day on the internet. It says Star Wars fans hate Episode 9. Plan to see it later this week, and which is exactly Star Wars fans. It's like, yeah, you bastards all talk shit about it, and you haven't even watched it yet.
Exactly,
It's
man.
very, very typical. So I thought that really
Very typical.
summed up the whole thing when it came to the fandom now and how they're acting. And again, we got the usual clickbaiters out there who love to just throw up. Oh yeah, I was terrible. I hated this. I don't understand how anybody from diehard fans.
You're cutting out there, Doc.
I said, not have a good time like that. Impossible to not.
Hey, Doc, your audio cuts in and out. I think I'm not sure why, but I'm with you, brother. I don't get it, man. It's unnecessary. There's just no point to it. I think it's just a bunch of people capitalizing on the what do you call it, on the fever of the season. And this has been a very long season that's been lasting for a few years now, and that is the season of outrage and hate. And it's just a bunch of people, like you said, who are capitalizing on that sentiment, and they just try to spread it. And hey, man, it's gonna get clicks, it's gonna get them views. Unnecessary though, man.
Oh, 100%. I mean, can you hear me now or no?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I agree, and it's just like, again, it's just people who are just getting themselves over on Star Wars, which is becoming the theme now for everybody. I can't imagine how anybody walks in that movie, casual fan, hardcore fan, just a moviegoer, and not have a good time in that movie, because that movie was fantastic.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And listen, man, you know what? Going back to The Last Jedi, I don't feel that Ryan Johnson ruined Star Wars. I feel that he made a shit movie. I don't feel it killed the whole franchise. I don't feel it killed Star Wars for me. And that's just stupid. It's like the same thing I hear from all these man babies whenever a remake is made, or whenever that whole thing about, oh, they're ruining my childhood. Yo, dude, you need therapy, bro. If you really feel that way, you need therapy. Straight up.
Mommy need to hug you more often.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Oh, listen. What?
No, you go.
First, I was saying, nice haircut. You look very sexy.
Thanks, babe.
Beautiful, yes.
Yes. I like it when you have nice, clean carpet, sharp. Yeah, you don't look like a dirty Puerto Rican.
I got the Papa Don beard over here, as my wife calls it.
That's what she calls it?
Yeah, she goes the Papa Don beard.
Nice. All right, so where do we begin?
How about we begin with the tone of the movie, overall tone of the movie, which was dark as fuck, and I loved it.
That's how I like my Star Wars, baby.
From the very, very beginning, where the opening sequence with Kylo heading to he was on Mustafar, which we found out, killing those
stuff like that gets me mad though.
That they didn't talk about it.
Number one, they didn't say it, or they didn't label it, or you know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't see Vader's castle in the background.
Yeah.
Like, how are we supposed to know that's Mustafar? Why don't they just acknowledge it better in the film so we can mark out like a fanboy? Because we're marking out already. The opening sequence was great. I mean, the pace, and I'm saying this, and I told this to Spear when we were sitting in the theater, the pace of the movie was so good that in the first half hour of the film, I looked over at Spear and I go, Last Jedi. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, man. I remember, man, I looked at you and you were like, dude, it's only been 15 minutes and it's already better than The Last Jedi. And I agreed, of course.
Hold on a second.
Yeah. 100%. The tone of that movie was amazing. I mean, he walks into Exegol, and it's just dark as shit. The place looks terrifying. How this movie is not going to give children who watch Star Wars nightmares, just seeing the Emperor in the opening sequence, his fingers all rotted off, eyes all all whited out like he's blind, looking like he's just rotting to death. I mean, scary as shit. You take a character who was 100%. I mean, and that was the tone of the whole thing. And we haven't seen a tone that dark since portions of Empire here and there, but even Empire wasn't that dark.
Well, episode 3 was kind of that dark.
Yeah, no, for sure it was, but it wasn't that dark. That from right there, it just set me off completely, and I was already in love with that movie from there, just from those first opening sequences of Exegol.
Absolutely. I mean, I thought the way the thing was paced was different than a Star Wars movie, but it was great because it was they started off hot. There was no chain wrestling. They just went from 0 to 100 really, really quick, and they stayed at that pace for a certain amount of time when they needed to grab a rest hold and slow down the pace, which they did. So,
but even when they did, it didn't feel like they were slowing it down.
Oh no, not at all, not at all. And I'm going to say a couple things right now, and you guys can agree or disagree. The comedic timing on C-3PO and Oscar Isaac during the whole entire film was gold.
Spot on.
Gold.
Yep.
I agree, man. You know what? The comedy didn't feel forced. The comedy did not feel like Marvel. It felt like Star Wars.
Yes.
This film felt like Star Wars through and through to me.
Absolutely.
I think they realized that it was a little too campy in the last movie, and they pulled back a lot on it, which was to their benefit. Less is more.
Well, I'm also thinking it's just J.J. Abrams knows how to do good comedy, organic comedy, as opposed to slapstick, forced place joke, and in scene here and there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, all right. So let's do a rundown, and then we'll go through what we like, what we don't like. What is this, right? We see Mustafar. We see Kylo on Mustafar going through a Royal Rumble of people, taking them all out one by one individually. He finds something that looks like a holocron, which ends up being what they call the Wayfinder.
Yep.
He hooks it up to his silencer TIE fighter, flies to Exegol, goes down this cool elevator where we see a numerous amount of Sith statues, very similar to the statues that used to be on Jedha of the Jedi. That size of statues. Bumps into Sheevy baby. We hear Sheevy's voice saying, "My boy, I've been every voice that you ever heard in your head." So, and then
can you do the whole scene as Iron Sheik? I think it'd be a little bit better.
I got the kid here. I can't do it. It wouldn't be 100% Sheiky baby, but maybe in a future take I will. So then what happens? Palpatine tells him who he is, says that he created Snoke. We see Snoke and a couple of clones of Snoke in a vat tank, saying that he needs him to bring the girl or take out the girl, which meaning by Rey. And then we see the cuts to a scene. One thing I noticed about this movie, there weren't too many force wipes. I don't think there were any force wipes in the film.
I don't think I saw any either.
Yeah. So, they cut to a scene where Chewbacca's playing the chess with Finn and Poe. They were going to meet up with some kind of animal or some kind of alien that had information from a spy from the First Order. They got the information. They bounced. They got chased by TIE fighters. Then Poe decides to do something we've never seen before, which is called force skipping, as opposed to making one force jump to a certain location. He almost like Guardians of the Galaxy did, jump from spot to spot to spot to spot.
What they call it? They called it light skipping or not light skipping?
Oh yeah, light skipping. Yeah, whatever.
What's the when they jack it up into hyperspace skipping? Whatever it was. I don't know.
Isn't it called?
What are you drinking? A fucking White Claw over there?
No, it's called a highball.
Just making sure.
So
I'm gonna pull your man card for a second.
Let's see. So then what happened?
So the Falcon gets all fucking destroyed, busted up.
Yeah. It starts being on fire. That's when he lands on the planet, the jungle planet, where they show Rey training. She's floating with some rocks, starting to do a little prayer, saying, "Be with me, be with me, be with me." He grunts.
Already trying to get the Jedi from the past. Spiro at his feedback.
What's up, man?
Kill that dude.
I gotta move, man. I gotta move then.
Spiro's on the move.
He's on the move. He's He's light skipping.
Yeah, he's hyperspace skipping.
I'm using clever editing, guys.
Yeah.
There we go. Nice.
We found the answer to that question though too, which was good. So we see Rey. Rey apparently is being trained by Leia. So, and at some point during the film, she calls her master, which I thought was very interesting as well. That Leia has enough training in her and enough knowledge of the Force that now she took over as Rey's master, which I thought was cool. I mean, it makes sense that that's happening now. Luke is gone, and she's the one who has trained in the past. We'll get more into that later. Decides to go onto the jungle training scene, which is one of the scenes we saw in the trailer. She's running through. She's got that little zap droid, and Kylo decides to, while she's running, force link with her. What I got from that scene, Pop, I don't know if you got it as well, was that Kylo somehow took over the droid and was manipulating the droid, because the droid seemed to like hit her at least 2 or 3 times when she wasn't expecting it.
What was he? No, I was thinking that because he force linked with her and he was touching Vader's helmet, and she started getting flashbacks during the training sequence, that the flashbacks were sending her, made her unfocused and sent her, you know what I'm saying? Sent her all crazy because she saw his flashbacks and her flashbacks at the same time. That's the way I read it.
Yeah, I figured it was the other, because either he took it over or she was just distracted from seeing what she was seeing. She does the gimmick, throws the lightsaber, grabs the branch, stabs the thing, nearly kills BB-8, and then it goes back to the scene where she's coming back and she meets up with the boys.
Because the tree fell on BB-8.
Yeah,
let's be specific.
My bad. And then gets back to the main base and is talking to the boys. What we didn't mention is we were revealed during that initial scene that there's a spy in the First Order who's feeding information. Did you find it kind of weird that they had to throw in the USB port to plug into R2 to give him the message? You think they would have burned it on some kind of disc or something like that to pass it off at that point.
You know what? With this technology, you never know anymore. To me, whatever. Maybe it was just a useful way to get R2 into a scene and make him, because he really didn't have a lot of play in this movie.
Yeah.
He really hasn't had a lot of play in the trilogy because he got replaced by BB-8, just to sell toys. But the guy who gave him that alien, the green alien with the yellow horns.
Yep.
I think his name was Dulio or something like that. Vulio or something like that. I just saw it in the dictionary that I got from in the mail. He looked like a Muppet.
I wasn't a big fan of the way he looked. They could have done a lot better with that guy. He did not look like your typical Star Wars character. He definitely looked more Muppetish than anything else. And I think they did that for a specific reason, though. And what was that reason? Is because 2 scenes later, Kylo catches him, decapitates him, and dumps his head onto the table. So, they couldn't have had a human-looking creature in that situation, because then they would have had this decapitated human head sitting on the conference table. Yeah, I mean, once I saw that, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. The reason why they made him look so kind of animated and Muppet looking, so they could actually decapitate him and throw him on there.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I was wondering that. That's a good analysis on why he looked like that. But you're probably right, spot on that. So what happens? Then they meet up, whatever. And what happened? Then they start arguing. Poe and Rey started arguing like a bickering couple, trying to feed off of their last scene that they had in Episode 8. I thought it was very complimentary.
Yep.
I actually thought they were going to hook up this movie.
It looked like it was going that way. I agree with you too. There was kind of like this little love triangle. Actually, love was more like a love rectangle between with Rey kind of firmly in the middle between Finn and Poe and Kylo. It was an interesting kind of situation to see where that was going. One thing we did miss, though, we didn't talk about it, is during that scene on the bridge where Kylo dumps the head over there. He's got all his generals. Hux was there, Pride was there, and that guy mouths off to him. And a la Vader, instead of force choking him, he force chokes him by the neck, lifts him up to the ceiling, smashes him against the wall, and then kind of holds him over there, like, in typical Kylo fashion, because he's got to do everything like grandfather, but just slightly over the top.
Yes,
which I loved. I thought it was great. I thought it was a good compliment to that, throwback to the scene on the Death Star, where you see Vader force choking, Captain whoever Piet, and that was a Piet. I can't remember what his name was, but it's very similar to that, which was cool. Everybody's like, "Yeah, we love your helmet. It looks awesome. It looks fantastic. It's cool." Which is again another kind of like little comedic throw that was inside there, which was okay. I didn't mind it at all. And then we get back to them arguing. They decide how they find out with the mission. Oh, that's right. What's her face? Rey wanted to go to pick up the. Wait, I'm trying to figure out how'd she learn about the Wayfinder. Oh, well, no, Lando told them about the Wayfinder. How'd they get to Piranha?
Jesus fucking Christ, man!
All right, guys, what's the matter?
Dude,
what's
man,
wrong?
Man, I'm trying to find a quiet spot. I'm trying to find a spot that's a good connection.
Sure.
So, anyways, I'm back, and I'm just gonna chill right here in this corner right here. That's it.
Nobody
puts baby in a corner.
Spirit puts himself in the corner.
That's right.
So what happened? They find out the information that there's a mole in the First Order giving information, and then Rey was reading the Jedi texts. She starts arguing with Poe. They're saying, "What are you training for? We need you on the field. You're the best fighter we have." Finn agrees with Poe, and then they talk to Leia. And what happened next? I'm trying to remember what happened next.
They talk about Exegol, because that's what we know what the spy had told him. She pulls out the Jedi text, sees the Wayfinder, and then pick up Luke Skywalker's mission that he had in the desert planet. What was it called? Not Piranha.
Yeah, it was Piranha.
Pisana.
So they go there.
This was also one of those like fuck you to Ryan Johnson moments. If you notice, they really emphasized the whole thing about the three of them sticking together.
Yeah,
they really made a point to emphasize that.
But let's be honest here, man. Let's be honest. And Empire Strikes Back, they were all broken up.
Yep.
So it's not like it's like something he did. He was just echoing what happened in the last, in the original trilogy, as far as the second act of the trilogy goes. So, I totally agree. The three of them together had tremendous chemistry. They go to this place. It ends up being one giant rave. Coincidentally, every 42 years, which is exactly the amount of time that the first movie dropped in 1977 on May 25th, 1977, 42 years ago.
That's a good call.
Yes, a little nod to them. She bumps into some little alien girl that gives her beads and asks her family name, and she don't answer because she doesn't have one. And all of a sudden, she force Skypes with Kylo again, and Kylo ends up for the first time reaching out and grabbing the beads off her neck.
That was awesome.
And they did an analysis, and they found out what planet they were on because of the beads, and then they end up showing up there. They go on the run.
I call Kyle pulling the beads off of her the anti-Mardi Gras scene, because usually you give the chick the beads, but this time he took the beads away from her.
Nice. So they follow them on the speeder bikes, the flying jetpacks. They end up beating all these guys. They find.
You missed it.
Hold on. Yeah, I'm going back. I'm rewinding. Before that, they get captured by the First Order, and not even captured. They get surrounded or one guard says, "Hey, freeze!" And then they get saved by a masked man who hits the guy with a crossbow, like a crossbow gun. And no, it's not Chewbacca. And then, they go into his little tank, and he takes off the mask, And lo and behold, Mr. Colt 45 himself, Lando Calrissian. And it was a great little intro. They asked him about this Wayfinder. He said him and Luke were on a mission looking for this Jedi killer, and they tracked him down to this planet, and his ship was still in the desert. He disappeared. So they went to the ship, but before they got to the ship, they stole a couple of speeder cruisers, and that's when they got followed by the First Order. And they fly now.
And the jetpack troopers, yep. Exactly.
They fly now. That's the whole scene. So they ended up beating up all the troopers. They got shot out of their little speeders. They fall in some kind of quicksand gimmick. They sink, and right before they sink, Finn yells out, "Ray, there's something I need to tell you. I didn't tell you." And they all go down the quicksand.
It's 9.5 inches. All right.
They end up going down into a tunnel. They all are okay. They end up bumping into this big giant snake that's hurt. Ray administers some kind of new force power that we saw Baby Yoda do a week ago, which was force healing. The snake basically is like, okay, thank you. Leaves him alone and hits the wall with his tail or something. As daylight comes out, they're able to come out of the tunnel. And they found the Jedi killer in the tunnel, his remains anyway. So he didn't live. He didn't do anything. They find the Wayfinder. They find a dagger.
The dagger.
With the Sith inscription on it. Not the Wayfinder, excuse me. C-3PO says, hey, I know what it says, but my protocol, which was established by the Republic law, says I cannot translate it. It's against the law. So he couldn't tell them what they had to say, which was kind of clever because at the time when the laws were passed, Palpatine was the chancellor of the government. So he passed it. So it's almost like Obama when he passed the law. You can't check up on my back history when he first became president. That's the first law he passed. So very similar to that.
Theorist. Show me the law.
Go check it out on the internet right now.
If it's on the internet, it's fucking true. Obviously.
It's on the government site. Yes. It's against the law to do any back search check on Obama when he was president. Guaranteed. First bill he passed.
That's because he's a
piece of shit. That guy.
Because he's a Sith mole.
Yeah. Anyhow, I was just giving the people something that they can compare it to. I wasn't. Yes. Listen, you liberal hippie, calm down. All right.
Hey, before we go on, do you think that they planned the episode of The Mandalorian to kind of overlap with this force power that Rey shows in this movie?
Yes.
I agree. I think they had to.
Because if she did it first, she would have been the ultimate Mary Sue.
Yes, and then she's the greatest.
And because Baby Yoda did it first, everyone loves it because it's Baby Yoda.
Exactly. That's really funny. Could they have done that scene without the stupid snake? I guess. I understand what they needed to do. That wasn't one of my favorite scenes in the movie, but they needed to foreshadow this power for the future. I understand.
Yeah, but Snake is the one that made the tunnel. Remember?
Yeah.
But you know what? I would have preferred if it was one of them who was mortally wounded or something, But then again, it wouldn't have the same impact later on if it was done on one of them.
I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
It was one of those things.
The same reason why, and we'll talk about it later, the Knights of Ren didn't have any lightsabers and all that shit. But anyways.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta everybody can't do fucking suicide dives and flips to the outside in the first match. That's I know that.
Well, they shouldn't, but they do. So why does it have to be different for fucking Star Wars? Anyways.
Well, welcome to the Indies, kid.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna get their shit in. One thing though I want to mention though that Sharon pointed out to me when Leia was talking to Rey when she was about to go leave to Pisana, she said, "Rey, don't be afraid of who you are," which I didn't pick it up initially. When she said it to her, but she said it to her then, and then that's also echoed to her again by Kylo in the future, and also by the Emperor. So I thought that was a cool kind of thread that went through the whole movie.
This whole movie is about identity.
100%.
If the last movie was about failure, this movie is about identity.
And what was the best part of it? That that it was identity, but it had nothing to do with fucking identity politics.
Oh yeah, there was no politics.
Thank God.
Not a threat or a shed of SJW
We did
bullshit.
a little lesbian kiss at the end, which was interesting.
Big deal.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So what happened next? They end up finding his dagger. C-3PO can't do the translation, so they stay. I think Poe says he knows somebody that can do it, and that's when they go to Kijimi. Is that correct?
Well, that's when so first of all, they took over the ship, this abandoned ship that's been sitting on top of this little rock for 20 fucking years. And
yes.
Apparently Persona is not like the Bronx, because if anybody left a fucking fully functional car with the keys in it in the Bronx on Grand Concourse, that should have been gone in 15 minutes. So again, for me, a little bit of a plot hole when it comes to the ship.
But it was in the middle of a desert, dude.
Yeah, but they got there pretty fucking easily. It's not like they had to trek for months and days to get over there. And I told Spiro when I watched the movie the second time, I liked it a little bit less because I was picking out those plot holes, the ones that I didn't like, and that was one of them for me. Is that the ship is sitting there for 30 years, no one's flown it, suddenly it works, and no one's decided to jack this thing when it's sitting there. So they go into the ship, they meet
But there was no
Dio.
Jawas on the planet, dude. It was a peaceful planet. They were all
You
like.
want to know what, man? I mean, if I were gonna nitpick at this, if this was real life and that was out in the desert for how many years now?
Not 30, but
how was it?
20 years.
Not even 20. Anyway,
that should it shouldn't work, bro.
Well,
for many reasons,
We talk about a lot of the ships that shouldn't work, like Luke's submerged X-wing that suddenly is like, yeah, fully functional, we're ready to go, kid. That's like swamp shit.
Well, listen, let's realize two things. Don't those X-wings need an R2 unit to function as a co-pilot?
They don't need it. It's preferred, but if you're a good enough pilot, you can fly it without it.
So, because there's no X-wing, when she took the X-wing, there was no R2 unit to back her up. Anyhow,
Luke had to get there without an R2 unit because he didn't have R2 when he landed there.
Yeah. So, all right. So where were we? So they find the ship. Rey senses Kylo there. She goes walk about like Crocodile Dundee on the desert plain. They tell Chewie to go get her. Chewie ends up getting caught because the Knights of Ren are there and they surround him. They handcuff him. Finn sees that. Tells Poe, yells at
somebody
Rey.
Saw it. We didn't see it.
The question is, should we have seen the Knights of Ren actually confront Chewbacca and fight him? I think we should have. I think they should have given us 2 or 3 minutes of them capturing him, because it would have given them a little bit more of a scene in this film and showing how powerful they are. Suddenly we see him in chains, and it's like, okay, here we are.
You're right.
And they get heat,
Yeah. So what happens next? Then after this, we see the clip where Rey sees the silencer coming at her. She does the freaking moonsault backflip. She cuts the wing off with what? She backflip, I said. Says the moonsault backflip, cuts off the wing of the TIE fighter with her blade of the lightsaber. Kylo crashes. Poe yells out that Chewie's on the ship. She tries to pull the ship down with the Force, which was cool. Kylo tries to fight her with it. They started doing it like they did with the lightsaber in Episode 8. She gets angry because it's a stalemate, and all of a sudden, Force lightning pops out of her hands, and the ship blows up, and everyone thinks Chewbacca is gone.
Yeah.
Lo and behold,
this is a good scene though. In the theater, I think the three of us popped forward from seat. Like, oh, once we saw the Force lightning, I definitely saw Papa Don jump up from when it came to that.
We definitely popped for the Force lightning, but at the same time, we were like, "What the fuck? Chewie's dead." But you know what, man?
That's because it's one of the leaks, dude. That was one of the leaks I brought on the show like 3 months ago.
I remember that. But you know, man, the main thing I want to talk about here, as far as that scene, of course, everybody who had seen the movie and started reviewing, and what bugs me about this, but first of all, they automatically brought up again the whole Mary Sue shit. But if they saw the film, and I know they have to get what happened there in that scene. You know, when her and Kylo are together, occupying the same spot. Okay, and we're gonna touch on this a little bit more later on. Their force powers amplify.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
They refer to it as a fucking dyad, right? Okay. So the usual suspects, the Mary Sue, blah, 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 the same clickbaiting hate bullshit, man. Come on, man. It's obvious. It's plain to see. It was part of the plot. It was part of the story. But, of course, the fandom menace strikes again. Anyways, I fucking love that scene.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Now, the one good thing about this is that, everybody's talking about how powerful Rey is, how powerful Rey is. I thought, for the most part, every time her and Kylo confronted each other, Kylo was actually more powerful than she was.
Yeah.
She was going to do the job when they fought on the Death Star.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And then he defeated her there, and until he got distracted. We'll talk about that later, though. But even in this scene, he was testing her by pulling it back, and he wasn't stressing at all when he was pulling it back. She was the one who looked like she was stressing when she was coming at from it. So I think they kind of like fixed that, little, you want to call it a plot hole, or that concern that people had that she's just, uber powerful and so powerful, because he was definitely more powerful than she was. So plane blows, the transport blows up, explodes all over the place. Everybody's crying for Chewbacca. They get in the ship, they take off, and they go where? To
Kijimi.
Go back. Kijimi, that's right. Because they had to crack C-3PO's head. Well, in Kijimi, the Empire follows them there.
No, the Empire's no more.
The First Order follows them there.
But
and
before they follow them there, that's when General, what's his name?
Pride.
And Pride and the other dude, Hux, they talk, and he goes, "Hey, we have a prisoner." And then they show that Chewbacca didn't die.
Yeah.
And that he's held captive on their ship. And then they go to Kijimi, and that's when he bumps into what's her name?
Zori Bliss.
And Zori Bliss tries to. That's where we find out about Poe's backstory about him being a former spice runner. And he's like, "You're a spice runner?" He goes, "You're a stormtrooper, and you're a scavenger. We can do this all day." Dude, it was great. Oscar Isaac was awesome in this film.
Yeah. Yes, he was. Yes, indeed.
So they join forces. They take him to Babu Frick, who is just as cute as Baby Yoda.
Yeah, I agree.
He sounds like your drunk uncle drinking too much coquito. You know what I mean? At the party.
The road is fixed now.
He said they get the Red Eyes 3CPO from the trailer pops up, tells them where to find the Wayfinder machine on the planet. It's the moon of Endor planet, but not the forest moon of Endor. It's the other moon of Endor called Beer or something. And he says the blade will show you the way or something like that. Very, very weird, but he comes back.
Strange message.
Yeah, and then he comes back and he has no recollection of who he was, which was kind of funny. Anthony Daniels was awesome in this movie as 3CPO. So then they go. They go there, and they go to this moon, this planet called Beer something or other. I forgot the name. They bump into Jana, whatever you want to call her, with the space horses. They all find out that they're all on the same side.
You're missing the portion where what happened at the at Kijimi, where she force links with Kylo.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Touch base.
That was a great scene.
So
I hate doing these reviews play by play, but go on.
Yeah, as she heads out of Kijimi after they get the info out of C-3PO, which was great that he had a completely different voice that sounded like more dark and tonal when he was under the Sith, whatever, reading Bible over there. They come out, the First Order's there with the Knights of Ren. Kylo realizes that they're there. He beams down to the planet. He gets over there, and he is looking for them. And then what they don't realize is that now they've taken this captain's coin that Zori Bliss conveniently has on her, that now she passes on to Poe, who she was going to kill him 15 minutes earlier because he was an asshole and fucked her over and the crew. But now suddenly she's all in, and she gives him this coin, which I thought, again, they may have rushed that a little bit when people talk about we're being rushed. I think that was potentially part of it. They get onto the ship. They could have gotten to the ship a different way. They get onto the ship, and now Kylo's on the planet, but now Rey's in the ship, so they've traded places. They're all running around trying to find Chewbacca. Rey decides to break off and to look for Chewbacca's belongings and for the dagger.
Yep.
The boys go into kind of God mode where they're like, untouchable on the Death Star, and they're blasting stormtroopers within 2 seconds, and they probably shot down at least 15 of them during that scene. They were all just kind of getting as Rey's making her way to Kylo's chambers. And I thought about when I watched this, I was like, why bother giving the stormtroopers any fucking armor if one blaster shot is going to take them out completely? You think that armor would sustain 1 or 2 or 3 blaster shots before they go down. One blaster shot, they're all down and out. Just put them in fucking pajamas for that point, if that's going to be the case. Who gives a shit? I mean, let's be serious. It's offering no protection to them at all. So
should have made that a Beskar.
Exactly.
They should wear. You know what? They should wear fucking Jawa robes and shit.
Yeah, right. Those Jawa robes don't get disintegrated.
Again, you look at that, I'm like, oh, really? Like, they're all armored up and they're just taking hits and just dying immediately. So they go into God mode. They finally get caught as Rey heads into Kylo's chambers, picks up the dagger, and then she force links with Kylo. And Kylo has no idea where she is. Meanwhile, she's like, staring through his dirty laundry upstairs in his bedroom. And he's downstairs in planet. They start fighting, they're doing force link fighting from one to the other. And in this situation, now they could actually physically touch each other, and the blades are hitting and they're actually crashing. A couple cool visual scenes in there. The whole place was white, and she breaks open that, jar that has all the cranberries in it. It spills inside of Kylo's quarters. They break. We see them break the stand that the Vader's helmet is in, and it falls to the ground. And Kylo realizes where she is. And prior to that, he tells her, "I know who you are. I know where you come from. I'm gonna come tell you now," which was great. So he jumps back in the ship, flies back up there. The boys get captured. They're about to get executed with Hux there, and Hux says, "Oh, let me do the honors." Shoots the stormtroopers, tells them he's the mole, gets them off the planet. They got to shoot him in the leg to get out there. They jump on the Falcon. Rey is confronting Kylo, and they have a moment where Kylo. They have a moment where Kylo informs Rey as to who her parentage is and tells her that she's a Palpatine. We get the no moment like we do in Empire, where she's kind of denying it, but she knows deep down it's true.
Though, I had a sense that she might have known, or she had a feeling, though.
Yeah, especially after seeing that Force lightning come out of her, I think she definitely knew that something was up for sure.
Especially also after Leia said, when she said, "Don't be afraid of who you are," it could have been that either she knew or she was telling her to not be afraid of being a powerful Jedi. Who knows?
Yeah, it's possible.
Open to interpretation.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the reason for it. It's funny, I watched a video by Star Wars Theory, and he's like, "See, I told you she was going to be a Palpatine." I'm like, motherfucker, your channel's called Star Wars Theory. You've had about fucking 700 theories between then and now, and the one that came through that you threw out there, now you're telling us. And he even said, he's like, "I had a lot of theories. It was fine." But it goes back to that whole thing where they talked about her fighting style, and she did a lot of the jabbing fighting style, similar to what Sheevy Baby did when he was.
Can I interrupt for real?
Of course.
Okay, I'm gonna take this moment to apologize to you two people, my brothers in arms, but apologize to the Scruffy Enough Herder fans that listen to us, all three of them. Since day one, I said, and maybe it's me just being optimistic or just being a fanboy, that Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, and all of Lucasfilm and Disney had a game plan for these three movies. It is apparent to me that after this movie, they had no game plan whatsoever. They were booking on the fly, and all the haters who said they were right. I'm going to let you boys in on a little secret. Palpatine being the grandfather of Rey wasn't the initial storyline that they were supposed to be used. Okay? Initially, she was supposed to be a Kenobi grandchild, but that got changed for some strange reason. I don't believe Palpatine was in the cards for Episode 9 until they realized, damn, we can't do Episode 9 now because Snoke died in 8. Do I still think killing Snoke in 8 was a mistake? Absolutely not. I love the fact that he died in 8 as opposed to 9 because it's different, but it's still the same. You know what I mean? It still echoed itself, but it echoes itself at a different pace and at a different time, which makes it unique and its own. That's just my opinion. So this film, along with 8 and 7, they don't sync up like 1, 2, and 3. They don't sync up like 4, 5, and 6. And it's apparent after this film. But with that being said, I just want to apologize to everybody because I was wrong. I was wrong because I gave them the benefit of the doubt because they spent $4 billion. And you'd think after you drop $4 billion scarol on an IP that you would sit down with a couple people and say, hey, this is our starting point, this is our ending point. Let's do the ending point and work our way backwards like a match. That, for all you people out there who wonder how wrestlers call matches, the real professionals start with the ending first and work their way backwards as opposed to starting with the beginning of the match, because that's the way you do things. But anyhow, they did none of that.
You know what? On that note, I just hope that going forward, if they keep doing trilogies, I hope they hire somebody, they put them under contract to do all 3.
Yeah, I think
that's one way to fix it. I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but that's one thing that can help. I mean, or like you said, just have a fucking game plan, put it in whoever you choose to quarterback this shit, and have them execute that game plan. Don't give them free reins like you fucking did Ryan Johnson. Anyways, that film came and went. JJ picked up the fucking pieces and blew it out of the water.
Of course, but then also, Lucas did that with the original trilogy too. Let's call a spade a spade. You know, because initially the 7, 8, and 9, Luke was supposed to be searching for his sister, and the Emperor was supposed to die in 9, not in 6. So, last minute he changed his mind and made Leia his sister, because initially Leia was not supposed to be his sister. His sister or other sibling was supposed to be found in 7, 8, 9 when he finds out that he has a sister. Yep. And the Emperor was supposed to survive and then be killed in 9. And initially, Episode 6, Solo was supposed to die, and there was supposed to be Wookiees, not Ewoks. But things changed so they can sell toys, and he didn't want the heroes to die. He wanted everything to have a happy ending because it's a fairy tale, and I agree with them in that retrospect. But let's move on before we get too sidelined and this is a 5-hour podcast.
Yeah. So he tells her, finds her at the end of the hangar as she's trying to make it to the Falcon, and he tells her that she's a Palpatine. She freaks out, cries. The Falcon blows up. It's exhaust engines knocking all the stormtroopers back. You see that shot that we saw in Vanity Fair with Kylo kind of like walking through, hair blowing back with the exhaust. She does a little floaty Mary Poppins into the Falcon. Did you guys like that part when she kind of did that little jump and then swung around?
Yeah, that was cool.
That was cool. Yeah.
Was that clever editing, or did she actually jump from? Sorry. She gets on the Falcon. Man. They have the dagger now back again, and they're heading to that forest, that moon that's outside of Endor, where the Death Star wreckage is. They land, meet Jannah and the rest of the former stormtrooper crew, who they tell Finn that they were all former stormtroopers. They're trying to fix the Falcon. She needs to get out into the thing, so Rey steals one of the skimmers, and makes her way to the wreckage of the Death Star after figuring out from the dagger from its little, like,
a little Goonie scene.
Exactly, very, very much a Goonie scene. Exactly, threw back to the Goonie scene where she sees where the Wayfinder is. Heads to there. Finn freaks out. Heads after her with Jana. She gets in there, and then we get those really great dark throwback shots of the Death Star and Palpatine's throne room, and you've got the undertones of the music that go back to Return of the Jedi, which I thought was great. And you see how wrecked it is. All the stormtrooper armor sitting all around the Death Star, all kind of like abandoned and nasty. She walks around. Suddenly, yep.
The stormtrooper armor can't handle a shot from a blaster, but can survive a blown up Death Star and stay intact. Something isn't right. Something isn't right.
It's not right.
It's an inside job. Suddenly she's there. She's hearing kind of like, you
didn't kill himself.
Yeah.
The Death Star didn't blow itself up.
Yeah, exactly. You hear these little voices kind of hearing back, kind of shadows and whispers, and then some door opens up. She walks through, sees the Wayfinder, picks it up, and then she gets what we all knew was going to happen, was going to be the dark side revision. And I guess it's just whatever dark side energy was sitting inside the Death Star that was sitting there that's showing her this. It's kind of like her Luke Cave moment where he walks into the cave, harkens back to that, where he sees himself as the dark side disciple. As Vader. They have a slight...
Quick question. Didn't she look hot as fucking Dark Ray, though, man?
Oh, yeah. She looked great as Dark Ray.
Man, she looks hot as Dark Ray. She looks hot as Light Ray. She looks hot, just period.
Absolutely.
She looks hot as
man.
Big Ray.
Dark Ray, though. Dark Ray is the fucking shit. All right, I'm sorry.
So Dark Ray whips out her double-bladed lightsaber. They start scissoring and...
No, wrong movie.
Yeah, sorry. That was the Star Wars fantasy I had 2 nights later. They start going at it. They kind of like
rise of Skyboner.
Yeah, exactly, the rise of Skyboner. They meet lightsabers together, and then Dark Ray kind of gives her the Sith teeth.
The Frodo Baggins.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Not a Frodo Baggins. It was Bilbo Baggins. When Bilbo did that with the My Precious. Very similar. She falls back out of the room, and then that was the last we saw of Dark Ray. In and out, which we all figured that was going to be the case. It wasn't going to be this long-standing thing. She wasn't going to turn. She was going to do this vision. And then who's there but Kylo? 2 of them are talking. With their conversation entailed, I'm blanking right now because they had so many during this movie. Again,
crushes the Wayfinder.
That's what he crushes the Wayfinder. He says the only way you're going to get there is with me, and I'm going to turn you to the dark side, and we're going to be like the king and the queen of the prom, because he wants her to help him kill the Sheevy baby. Now the question is, initially the Emperor wanted Kylo to kill Rey.
Right.
But then he says at the end, it was always my intention to bring you here. Is he kayfabing it now at this point because she's there, or was that what he really wanted, and that was what he foresaw that Kylo was going to do? What do you think?
I think it is what he always wanted, because if he really, really, really wanted Kylo to take the throne, as soon as Kylo showed up, he would have gave him the gimmick and said, "Strike me down, and all the Sith would be in you," and we didn't have to go through this whole kerfuffle of a movie just to get Rey into the throne room, and then all the Sith would have been in Kylo, and he would have been Darth Kylo, and yada 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 yada, and the final battle would have been Kylo versus Rey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think he knew Kylo was going to befriend her because of the dyad, and because he knew he killed Snoke to join her, and he saw all that if he told him this, he would bring her eventually to him. And then because she's blood relative, and he breaks kayfabe and tells her, they could try to use that to his advantage. You know what I mean?
She was his weakness.
Yeah, exactly. We're well put in so little words. Perfect. That was Kylo's weakness. Yeah. So
She would have been mine too, you know.
Hey.
So what
Oh.
happens? So then they fight on the gimmick, right? On the Death Star wreckage. Kylo's jobbing her out really, really bad where she's getting blown up. And all of a sudden it looks like he's going to strike her down, and he decides to not strike her down in a moment of hesitation. During this time, Leia walked off, and she was sitting there holding Han's medal, and she calls out to Kylo, and he senses her, and he hears her, and he feels her, and he turns around. And that took every ounce of her being and fiber of her being that was left, because she's been damaged from that space gimmick that happened in episode 8, the Mary Poppins scene, that she passes away.
It's all the cocaine in the 80s, brother. It wasn't the space gimmick.
So she passes away. And then he turns around, and Rey goes all vicious and stabs him with his own saber.
All right. So what did that part remind you of? Of a different, very well-known fantasy movie show that just wrapped up?
Which one?
Ulysses, Spiro.
Can you speak it up in the lot? It's not so vague.
That scene where he drops the saber, she picks it up and she stabs him with it. Reminds me of the sequencing of Game of Thrones. Yes. Okay. We won't say anymore because Spiro hasn't seen it. So Spiro hasn't seen it, but
I haven't seen it yet. Jesus Christ, that's all right.
So we didn't tell you what characters it was, so you'll know. You won't know
exactly. So yeah,
it wasn't Bilbo Baggins, so you don't have to worry about that. So yeah.
Either.
And I was thinking that too because you were watching Rise of Boner, so Sky Boner, so that was the character's name. So what happens? She realizes that she stabbed him. She felt guilty. She felt Leia's passing. She heals him, and at that moment, she bounces, takes his TIE silencer, and leaves.
So,
quick question.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something right now. Okay, Leia dies. I'm already crying. Okay. And as we get into the next couple of scenes.
Oh, before you go any further, let me steal your thunder for 1 second.
Please.
The way they incorporated Leia in this movie was seamless. It was spectacular.
Yeah.
And it was perfect.
Great job.
Absolutely perfect.
How many scenes did they have of her from the last two movies that they were able to put this together so cohesively?
Oh, it was awesome.
Hey, but do you guys think that was a satisfying exit for her, for
Yes.
Carrie Fisher?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
There was no other way she could have passed.
Why don't you ask her? Sorry.
Oh, because of the letter she wrote?
No. I'm just saying she's dead. I know. I'm speaking my usual dick self, but that's all right.
Oh, you are what you...
You got to use that Santeria, bro, you know?
So...
Bruja shit.
Bruja.
So... When in this sequence do we find out that they tell Chewie that she died? Because when Chewie fell to the ground, I was like, all right, I'm going to start crying. I started crying.
That made me cry the second time around even worse than the first time around.
Yeah,
because that guy, he sold it like a champ. When they showed up, when Poe, Finn, and all of them come back to the base, and he goes, we got to talk to Leia, and the big-nosed chick tells him, Leia's gone. And they realize that she passed away. Finn gets all teary-eyed, and Poe gets upset. But then Chewie lets out this agonizing, painful roar. And for the first time ever, we see this mighty, mighty, strong Wookiee drop to his knees in pain and just scream and throw his arms up. We've never seen anything like that. You know, it's like
Han died.
Not even when Han died. You're right. You see him yell in frustration, and he shoots Kylo. But it's like watching your father cry for the first time, you know, and you idolize your father as this strong man or superhero. I know you guys are Puerto Rican, so you guys might not know your father, but I'm kidding.
Chichi Figueroa, that was you.
Yo, man, let me tell you, man, two quick things about that. When I saw Chewie drop to his knees, that shit, like, I was like, whoa, my God, dude.
Yeah.
The biggest, baddest motherfucker. But then I fucking heard Doc. He sounds like Spiro. His fucking roar, bro.
He was like, and I was like, "Sir, was that your Chewbacca impersonation?" Huge. That was great.
Oh man, that was
dead.
awesome, man.
So then what happens? So then you see Kylo looking out and about over the ocean because now he don't have a ride anymore. He got his ride jacked by Rey, and all of a sudden you hear the two words, "Hey, kid," and your heart stops.
Oh my god,
that was it right there.
Easily my favorite scene, bro.
Oh yeah, dude. And who was
Easily.
it? It was
my God.
Harrison Ford, and they reenact the scene with some added verbiage from Episode 7 when they were on the scaffold.
Yes.
Almost beat for beat.
And he says, "You're just a memory," which was great writing because it wasn't a Force ghost. He was just reliving that memory, and it came to life. And dude, when he touched his face and he says, "Dad, I don't have I have to do something. I don't have the power I don't know if I have the power to do it." He goes, "You do something." And he goes, "Dad, and he stops, and Han goes, he has his hand on his face. He goes, "I know."
Oh my God!
Oh,
murder!
Oh, dude,
right
even saying it now.
I was a weeping mess when I saw that.
I cried like a baby both times, dude.
That
was one of the best kept secrets of the movie. Nobody knew. I don't know if it was. You read the leak, Spear. I don't know if it was in the leaks at all.
I didn't see it in there. Bro.
I saw it in the leak.
Was it in the leak? Oh, that's brutal. Why'd you read leaks for, you fucking cocksucker?
Oh, wait a minute.
Well, wait, this was 4 months ago. No, this is 4 or 5 months ago. This is like the first round of leaks that came out. You know what I mean? That everybody was like, you know?
Yeah.
And then I stopped reading them. And they were all true. All the leaks were true. All of them.
Yeah, I know. Oh,
so I had no moment of shock or surprise. I did pop for the Han scene when he said, "Hey, kid." I went, oh, it's Han. You know? And then
there was a moment where he says it, and there's like the space in between. You see Kylo, and they don't pan the camera yet, and you're like, all right, is he going to be a Force ghost? Is he going to be like no one? I had no idea what it was going to be when he flipped around, and like you said, fantastic writing. That it was basically Kylo talking to himself, him kind of like in the moment, seeing his dad, and it was exactly not a Force ghost, and that part. That may be one of the greatest moments in Star Wars history, right then and there.
Listen, to offset
easily.
That offset the death scene, which in my opinion was one of the most brutal scenes to bear witness to in all of Star Wars. And probably one of the most harsh death scenes in all of movie history. And maybe I'm just a big Han Solo fan, and that's why it gets to me. But as a father seeing a son execute his own father and that little hand drape on the face, that just gets me. Even now, if I watch episode 7 after this, I'll cry.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Kylo throws a saber. He tells him, "No, Kylo Ren is dead." And then he disappears. And then he throws a saber in the water. So guess what? He's redeemed. He's back to the light. And I think they did it fantastically. It wasn't cheesy. It wasn't bad. They did it perfectly. Kudos to JJ and Chris Terrio for doing it right.
I think it was a perfect way to bring him back to light.
Definitely.
To start him on his redemption arc. You know, and the fact that they really just melded that scene. You could overlay the one in Force Awakens right on top of it. And it was pretty much beat for beat. Like I said, a little bit of here and there, but beat for beat. Even the way he held the saber and he held the saber towards him when he had it. They had the same shot, the same sequence. Perfect writing. Perfect storytelling, and it made perfect sense to progress him from the time that he did not take that opportunity to now he takes that opportunity. I absolutely love that part.
I thought that was done masterfully, and what was great about it was that it took both of his parents, one alive for a few seconds, and the other one dead. Like it took them both, you know. And I thought, and easily the best scene. My favorite scene. But yeah, man, the redemption was fucking just awesome, man.
See, one thing about the scene that I didn't notice that I saw in another review show was that it was raining, or all the water and the mist, not raining, but all the water and the mist from the waves were coming. It was wild, you know, and everybody was getting wet. Han was dry throughout the whole scene. Now 1 ounce of water went on him. You know what I mean? And then when he threw right before he threw the saber in the water, all the waves went calm, almost to show symbolically that he's
symbolism there. Yeah.
He's not fighting
not conflicted anymore.
Yeah, he's not fighting with himself. So what happens? Ray
I
goes
love
to
shit like that.
Oh, so do I, dude. I have another symbolism thing that I'm gonna say later on, which blew my mind when I heard it. Ray goes to talk too. She's torching the silencer X-wing, or not the X-wing, the TIE fighter. She's starting to throw those logs in there, and then she throws a saber, and lo and behold, the ghost hand reaches out and says, "No, that's my good hand," and grabs the saber. And this is the biggest FU to Rian Johnson, if you will.
100%.
But it was due, because he says, "What are you doing, Ray? A Jedi should treat his weapon with respect." And then he says, "Ray, I was wrong." And basically sits down on the log just like Obi-Wan and schools her. She goes, "Well, how can I can't get to Exegol now?" He goes, "Everything you need, you have everything you need." And then she realizes she has a Wayfinder. She grabs it out of what's-his-name ship. Luke does the Force Ghost raising of the X-Wing just like Yoda did. You even hear the same music in the background from our man who had a cameo at the bar as a bartender, John Williams himself, with the monocle. That was John Williams.
Oh, shit, I didn't realize that.
So they lift the X-Wing, and she starts to fly Red 5.
You're skipping a part. He hands her. We see that scene where Luke and Leia are training at the end of Leia's training, and well, you passed it already. So, as he's bequeathing Leia's lightsaber to her, which we all know now, one of them is going to get into Kylo's hands because he's lost his, and we know where this is heading. We see the scene where Luke and Leia are fighting. Leia gets the best of him. And then, her mask flips up. You see the old school Leia inside the mask, the old school Luke inside the mask. And Luke explains to her is that, she had a vision seeing that at the end of her training, her, at some point her son would die. So that's why she gave up being a Jedi, which is good. I think it's good that they explained that to us, that she was definitely training. And the reason why she did not complete whatever she needed to do and wasn't a full-fledged Jedi is because she was preventing tragedy from happening in her life. So again, I thought that was clever writing on their part. He pulls out the saber, hands her the saber, so now she has both sabers and heads to Exegol with the with Red 5.
Yeah, he was like, take both sabers, he said.
Oh, we forgot to mention that a new friend was found on the ship from the Jedi killer. It was Dio, the little conehead guy.
Oh,
and
right,
Dio
yeah.
had some information about Exegol. Spills the bean to Finn. Finn is now a general in the army along with Poe. They kiss and make up from fighting from before. Not literally kiss, but
might as well.
Then all of a sudden they see R2D2. He's talking to C-3PO, and the C-3PO introduces himself to R2, and R2's like, "Yo, man, you're my boy." He goes, "What do you mean I'm your boy? I would know if I was your boy." And then he goes, "You want to do what to me?" "Absolutely not." And then they show him replenish his memories, and then they see a message coming from Luke. So he runs over and he tells the boys, "Hey, we got a message or whatever it's called from Luke."
A signal from Luke's X-Wing.
And he goes, "I think it's his circuit board's fried or something like that." And they and then they realize it's Ray flying Red 5, and she's showing him how to fly through all the maelstroms and gravity wells and black holes and all that stuff to get to Exegol. They all get there. Ray gets there. They get there. They realize what they need to do. They need to blow up this communication tower that guides them how to get out of there, because the Star Destroyers can't get out of there without some kind of because of all the discrepancies, the black holes, the variant, all that stuff that's in the air, the gravity wells that they can't fly out of there blind, all still get torn apart. So they got to follow each other, I guess, in a certain way. So they're going to launch a ground attack, an air attack, and Ray's going over there to do the attack on Shivi babies, and what happens?
She walks in the door, confronts Shivi baby, and she tells her, "Listen, I want you to strike me down to end my life.
Do it.
So do it." He did say that once, which is great. So the all the Sith that live in him and his life essence can pass into her, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't think so, buddy. Not gonna happen." Um, and then we see all the disciples of Shivi who are sitting in the corner. They look like little roaches that are kind of hanging out over there. And she refuses to do it, and then he threatens the fact that I'm gonna murder your friends up here. It was basically kind of like very similar to the end of Return of the Jedi, where the Emperor shows Luke that his friends are all gonna die, and he's the only one who could stop this by joining him and becoming his new apprentice. They had a feel, again, Return of the Jedi feel when it came to that, which makes sense. Ray gives him the nod. Yeah, you're gonna do it. It's cool. And then they start the ritual where he's explaining what's happening, similar to kind of like what Snoke was doing in the Last Jedi, when he was like, "You will raise your lightsaber." And, yeah. At that time, we see Kylo land his now just regular generic Prius TIE fighter on Exegol next to her X-wing. He runs in. He's all like, now I'm like looking hippie Kylo because he's not wearing his usual robes. He's got some some black shirt
pajamas
on.
or some shit.
Exactly. Runs through with his blaster. He starts shooting the guards that come through, which look like a cross between the Praetorian guards and the Emperor's royal guards when he walked in the door. He turns back. His pop's giving me the signal right now, just like his dad, and kind of no sells the shot from behind the back.
Boom, pulls a Han
to take the guard out, which I thought was dope. And then confronted by who else? His ex-homeboys, the Knights of Ren. And then what happens?
Oh, that's right. I forgot they were in the movie. God damn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They lay the smackdown on Kylo. He can't outlast the numbers. Rey looks like she's gonna strike down. They connect, and the Emperor doesn't realize she connects. She goes behind the back. It looks like she's gonna strike him down.
The Force Skype, yeah.
Yeah, and he looks like he's about to hit the money shot because he was like, "Oh, strike me down." She goes behind his back like this. All of a sudden, lo and behold, she transfers the saber to Ben. Ben grabs her, pulls the saber out of everybody everywhere. All the guys in the Knights of Ren looked at him like, "Whoa, where did that come from?" And then he does the Han Solo,
Yeah.
He's
and then
like,
lays
let's
the
dance, motherfuckers.
And then he lays the smackdown on and takes out all the Knights of Ren single-handedly, and then shows up side by side by Rey, where they show the cool double pose with the lightsaber shot, and then all of a sudden Shivi baby shoots the electricity at both of them, and then gets shocked back and realizes, whoa, the dyad is strong, and then he does his monologue about the dyad, and then he picks them both up, sucks the life force out of him. His fingers start to regenerate. His eyes start turning yellow. He started becoming the old Shivi babies of old. He regenerates himself. All of a sudden, they're dead on the ground. Lo and behold, you see Sheev Palpatine in new robes, looking like he did in the prequels, with a belt like Vader. And then all of a sudden, he does this cool thing with the lightning because he's in the Sith planet in a Sith temple, and he's powerful out the wazoo, where he's shooting this exorbitant amount of lightning into the sky, which is messing everyone's in the air's sensors and radar, and the ships are malfunctioning, so they're starting to fall back. Everyone's dying. Right now, Snap Wexley dies, which was a little sad because I didn't want him to die. That messes up Poe. Poe's like he's about to quit, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, hello, what do we have
on your
here?
left, Cap, on your left.
Shows up is the Millennium Falcon with Chewie and Lando, and he starts giggling like we saw in the trailer, and the entire fleet's behind him. And then one of the best lines in the movie, General Pride goes, "Is that somebody's Navy?" And the guy next to Pride goes, "That's not the Navy. That's just people."
Yeah.
When it was said by Zori Bliss earlier on, that's how they can beat us. They think they can beat us because they make us feel like we're alone, but we're not alone. We outnumber them. So everybody showed up, and in that shot, you had numerous amounts of ships throughout the movies, but you also had the Ghost, and you had the Winnebago from Spaceballs that we know as the Razor Crest. That was in the shot.
Yeah, man. I was doing my best to like kind of track them quick, man. See if I could make out any ships, man. But there were too fucking many.
Yeah, but those two were definitely in the shot. So an all-out air war, Star Wars, if you will, happens. They're shooting back and forth. Kylo gets up first. Sheevy baby gives him the force push and says, "Well, as I fell last time, here's your receipt, Skywalker." Boom, and then
he called him the last Skywalker when he did that to him.
So he threw him off.
Wait, let's go back because you were a very big proponent of the fact that he is not a Skywalker, right? Spiro and I want to talk about this one.
He isn't a Skywalker solo.
That he's a solo, but Sheevy Baby definitely called him a Skywalker.
The last of the Skywalker.
He said, he's Skywalker blood. Skywalker.
You know what, man?
Now he's changing his tune, Spiro. It's been fucking
I still
41 weeks of us talking about this.
Listen, I still don't consider him a Skywalker. I consider him a solo.
But he is. But listen,
he has
man.
Skywalker blood in him.
You know what? The one thing that, the one issue I had with this film before I saw it, man, was the actual title, The Rise of Skywalker. A part of me felt like, man, is fucking Disney trying to capitalize on the Skywalker name? Is it going to have nothing to do with the film? It just sounds cool. But lo and behold, there was actually a double meaning to this. But of course, we'll touch on that a little bit later. Go on, bro.
So what happens? The chick gets up. Before she gets up, she says the prayer again as she's crying. She's seeing everybody fall in the sky. All these ships are getting blown up. Be with me, be with me, be with me. And all of a sudden we hear all the ghosts of Jedi past. Yoda, Kanan, Luminaries, Ahsoka, both
Anakin.
Both Obi-Wans, Anakin, Yoda, Mace Windu. He was like, "Bitch, get up, motherfucker!" No, and then they're all telling her get up, and that they're all in her side of her, and all the Jedi's live in her. And then Luke, the final thing is the Force will be with you always. She gets up, he starts shooting the lightning. She grabs both saber. She does a big X. Lightning starts going back at him and starts peeling his skin off little by little. And then he blows up and he dies. And then she falls because it took all her energy. She dies as well. And then you see a hand pop up at the edge of the cliff. It's Kylo or Ben. He crawls over, hugs her, realizes she's dead. He gives her the receipt, uses the Force healing technique, which can only be used by a light-sided user, not a dark-sided user. Because dark-side users can only take life force, not give life force. So Ben redeems himself. Obviously, he's Ben Solo now. Heals her, and for the first time after he heals her, and she wakes up because she was playing dead really well, dude, with the eyes and everything.
Yeah. Yo, real quick, man. When I saw that shit, I was like, yo, did they kill this bitch for this film? Because she's playing dead better than anybody I've ever seen in any film, bro, ever.
I think she was just holding a fart in it.
She was out. She was dead.
The Force fart,
Yeah. So
that's the greatest Force power ever.
So she wakes up. He gives her a little smoochy, and for the first time we see him smile, and then he dies, and then he disintegrates and disappears. And when he disappears, at the same time, Leia disappears. So now it's like Leia's journey is complete. He finally turned, and he's gone. She's gone, and Rey flies out of there. Poe decides to stay.
Hey man, my bad. You know what, man? When that scene went down, when they finally kissed, afterwards I felt kind of bad because somebody in the front started clapping, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you, a fucking Twilight fan?" You remember that shit? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the Raylo guy in the back over there. He's like, "Yeah, baby."
And then Jana and Finn stayed on the Star Cruiser because they were going to blow up the Star Cruiser to make sure it doesn't reset its communication tower, its guiding system. And then Lando saves them because Poe is trying to go save him. He goes, "I'm fast," and then Lando and Chewbacca goes, "Yeah, but we're faster." So he
Yeah,
shoots over
my
with the
hands
Falcon,
are faster.
and
Ask
then
your
they jump.
mother, Kylo.
And then they jump on the Falcon, and they all head home. And lo and behold, at the end, everyone's celebrating a la Episode 6 on Endor. Everyone's happy. We see a little Cloud City where we see the Star Destroyer falling. Then we see Endor. We see a grown-up Wicket with a female
Yeah.
what do you call it? Ewok. We see Jakku, and then we see Ray land, and the three of them do this very tenderous moment where they're hugging each other and they're crying because they actually won, and it was all not, they did the right thing. They saved the universe. And then they show Rey going to Tatooine in the Falcon, and she goes and she buries the lightsabers, which I really didn't understand. It was symbolic, but I always felt the more lightsabers, the better, because you never know when you're going to need one.
Right.
But she buries Luke's and Leia's lightsaber in the sand, and then you had some old lady
She buries it where? In the Lars homestead, because
in the Lars homestead.
that's
Yes, and she obviously, and then where they buried obviously Luke, Lars, and Aunt Beru as well.
Oh, that's what they burned. I know they buried them there.
So didn't they bury the bodies afterwards? I don't remember. Some old lady said, "Hey, kid, get off my lawn. Who are you? We haven't seen anyone here in a long time." She goes, "I'm just Rey. What's your last name?" And she looks out in the distance and she sees Force Ghost Luke and Leia, and she goes, "Rey Skywalker." And then they show her looking in the twin sunset, a la Episode 4, a la Episode 3, and
it's
she,
over.
She pulled. Well, wait. She pulled out a new lightsaber.
Yes.
That she constructed.
A yellow lightsaber.
Yeah, a yellow saber, which the hilt or the emitter, however you want to call it, was constructed from her staff, right?
Yep. Well, it looks like it was very similar.
Well, okay, yeah.
So here's the deal: the little known fact about the yellow, the Jedi Guard used the yellow saber in Rebels, right?
Yep.
And the yellow saber supposed to symbolize balance. So here's my thing, and I was talking about this with Christian York. Right, we were talking about this back, over Messenger. He tells me, "Yo, man, he wanted her to strike him down. The Emperor wanted Rey to strike him down so all the Sith spirit can go into her. She didn't strike him down, but she beat him and killed him. So does the Sith spirit still go into Rey? So is Rey now all Sith spirits and all the Jedi spirits?" And that's why she has a yellow blade, because she's a balanced one.
But you know what, though, about that, two things. First of all, I wanted to say before, but I wanted to wait till the end, was that it gave me this Highlander vibe where when you kill the one, all the spirits come into you, the fucking power and all that shit. And second, I thought that the yellow lightsaber symbolized that she was now the protector or the guardian of the Jedi teachings, because when you look and like Mace Windu cross back and forth, he could use dark side and light side with control, and he's fucking canon now. Revan also had a purple saber, and the purple saber, when you look at it, it's supposed to be somebody who can sort of walk in between the light and the dark. So why not have a purple saber then? If she got all the Sith and all of the fucking Jedi.
I have no idea.
But wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. One more thing, though. We did find out, though, what Finn was trying to tell her. So she...
After the fact, though, we didn't find out in the movie.
Yeah, right. But when you go back, it kind of doesn't make sense now, because for her to have all of the fucking Jedi spirits in her and all that, she would have to fucking kill Finn then, because Finn, according to J.J. Abrams, was trying to tell her that he was force sensitive.
Man, I think he was trying to tell her that he wanted to plow her.
No, I disagree with you, Doc. He wanted to tell her that he was force sensitive.
and that he wanted a plower.
Yes, I think I'm force sensitively plowing you tonight.
So,
but you
okay.
could see Finn's arc through this, that he is force sensitive. He felt that that she had died, and he felt that this was going on. He felt it, so he's definitely,
And he knew
but he's
where
also,
when they turned off the transmission for the guidance system, which ship it went to.
Right.
And they said, "How do you know?" I have a feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and we've seen him hold the lightsaber in the first movie too, so it's not like this is a secret for us.
I would love to see. I would love to see a movie with him being Rey's first student. I think they have such great chemistry together that her being his master, and them like button heads would be great. It would be like a nice little buddy cop type of Lethal Weapon type of gimmick. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So boys, we just did the whole play-by-play. What didn't you like from the film? Because I can tell you right off the bat what I didn't like. So you guys can go first, or I can go first. What doesn't matter.
Listen, man, I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna give you my main one, bro. Okay, and that is barely any Knights of Ren, and the fact that they didn't use their force powers, which we know according to the comic book, the Kylo Ren comic book, that part of the prerequisites to be a Knight of Ren is that you have to be force sensitive, and from what we learned, Ren means what? Means lightsaber. So where were their fucking lightsabers if these guys are fucking knights of the lightsaber?
They don't have any.
They should have had. They should have used. Anyways, that's fine. But the bottom line is they didn't showcase these guys. It's like they were just teased. Like you said, we could have seen them tangling with a Chewie. You know, it would have made them mean a little bit more. It would have made their presence. It would have, felt more. It would have also made them a little bit more of a threat if these guys can take down Chewie. Just two of them. But
I totally agree.
But listen, man, that was my main peeve. But this movie to me was so fucking good, bro, that fuck it, man. Oh well.
This is what I didn't like. I didn't like that they did not explain how or why Palpatine survived.
Yeah.
He was just there and we just had to accept it.
Yeah.
And I hate being forced into something like that because, to be honest with you, they brought him back just to kill him again. So it kind of, in my opinion, it kind of does cheapen what Anakin did or Vader did in Episode 6 to a certain extent, even though when Hayden's ghost was talking to Rey, he goes, "Bring balance to the Force like I did." So he's telling her, "Hey, I fulfilled the prophecy, but there was a loophole, and now it's your turn to close the deal off or whatever."
But do you think maybe he was cloning himself or having himself cloned?
Listen,
do you think?
Could be, but here's the issue: nobody knows. Now, the problem,
right, of course.
The problem is, okay, how long would that take? 1 minute, 5 minutes to explain in a dialogue, in a monologue, or a flashback scene where, man, you know what I mean? Something that shows that maybe he did essence transfer, and they show him right before he hits the reactor in Episode 6. He takes his essence, he travels to Exegol, and he goes into Snoke's body. And then when he gets cut down, he transfers back into this new body that wasn't finished yet. Well, you know what I mean? Something like that shows them hopping and skipping and jumping around. You know what I mean?
You know what? Yeah, talking about that, I don't think that we mentioned the fact that shot of this discarded like Snoke clone bodies and shit, where these bodies that were being cloned so that he can transfer his essence into, or was Snoke somebody real that they had cloned and shit to survive?
Could be, because he said he made Snoke, so the Snoke that was in charge was his puppet. So whether it's his essence in the body or somebody that was a clone of somebody that he knew that, and the clone ended up being dark side strong, and he took him under his wing as a disciple. Who knows? But That's the problem. And the fact that the end, the fight with Rey was a little too quick for me. You know what I mean? I think it would have been cool. I mean, because someone brought it to my attention. He's the strongest Sith Lord of all time. He's on a Sith planet. He's on a Sith planet in a Sith temple where his powers are amplified tenfold, a millionfold, and Rey beats him so quickly. You know what I mean? After getting a butt kicked. So I think it would have been cool one of two ways. Either what we said in the past, where they suck the life force out of them and he's about to strike him down with a saber, and then another saber off screen blocks the shot, and you pan up, and it's either Force Ghost Luke or Force Ghost Anakin, and they do a little 1 or 2 minute battle that gives them enough time to sell what just happened, and then both Kylo and what's her name gets up, and now it's 2-on-1 and do the same finish, but just extend it a little longer. Or two, when when Rey does the whole X thing with the sabers and she's fighting him off, before that they battled a little, whatever, and she does that, you see all the Force Ghosts behind her. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see,
like imbuing her with their power.
Yes, something visual, not just verbal. Rey, right. I think people wanted to see that, and if you would have gave that to them, they would have been satisfied. Those were the only two gripes. The second one being minor, but the first one being major for me. The fact that it was not fully explained. Someone said this felt like a fan film to a certain extent because they don't give any explanations of the continuation. I can agree with that, but again, it's obvious to me now that JJ was brought in to fix and try to unite the fandom that was divided by Rian Johnson. Now, it felt that way, but I don't care. I enjoyed this movie so much. Yeah. I loved it. And all those tropes I had that I didn't like, fine. It is what it is.
They're acceptable.
So I was
doing the laundry.
Yeah. Turkey's done.
What the fuck was that? Jesus.
I was talking to somebody today, and I was saying about the movie, they should have never revealed the Palpatine was back. They should have done something different. And off the top of my head, this is what I came up with. Seriously. I said, they should have had Snoke come back, right? And then when Kylo finds out where he is, he tracks him down, and mid-fucking movie, they fight. He ends up killing him again, and then you hear the cackle. And you turn around, and it's Mecha Palpatine on the life support system like he was.
Frankenstein and shit.
And then he says what he said to him in the beginning of the movie. My boy, Snoke was me all along.
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch! What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Yada, yada, yada. And then...
Me all along, Austin.
Exactly. And how much do you think people would have popped not knowing that Palpatine was in the movie and that he was in the movie? You know what I mean?
Big time, man.
As opposed to going in there and wondering...
Yeah, but I felt that they needed to reveal this because everybody was so pissed off and everybody was so divided, and so many people were swearing that they weren't gonna go see this shit. I felt that out of desperation, maybe they revealed that he was in fact back. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what, man? It's pretty obvious to the people who are smart that he was never in the cards to begin with. They just brought him back as a fucking
right,
as a tool to try to fix the situation. And then did it? I mean, a lot of people have a problem with the movie, saying it was too fast. I like the new pace of the movie. I thought it was different. I think it added to the appeal. Do I think it was a lot to take in? Yes. I think the movie could have been another half hour long to just stretch things out and explain things a little better. Personally, I think the movie should have been broken up into two movies. Had a part 1 and part 2. It would have been a lot better. A lot easier to digest. But it wasn't. So we're not going to sit here and just keep saying, what if?
Right, no.
I mean, I was kind of upset that Luke didn't come back. I would have been cool when she threw the saber. Would have been an actual hand as opposed to a Force Ghost catching the saber, and then he can explain, well, Palpatine's back. I need to come back so there could be balance. We can't have, a Sith guy return and not a Force user guy. You know what I mean? Because and then I don't know. It's just me. Maybe that's just a fanboy in me. But and another ending I would thought would have been cool is if both Ben and Rey survived, and then the temple comes crashing down like it did, and everyone thinks that Rey and Ben is dead, and they will both go to Tatooine, and when they ask who you are and they go into hiding, they just use the name Skywalker. You know what I mean? And they just live on the island as hermits. They live on the planet Tatooine as hermits. But I was just that's all fantasy booking. But what didn't you like, Doc?
So we actually skipped talking about it. It was the whole portion where Finn and Janna are on the Star Destroyer trying to destroy the tower. Isn't this thing supposed to be in outer space?
No, it was in the atmosphere.
It was in the atmosphere, and someone said there was some force shield stuff about it. I don't know. It was kind of a little far fetched for me. That was the only Canto Blight feeling, scene that I had gotten in the movie where I'm like, I don't know about this.
Good point.
I feel like they kind of shoehorned Janna in there, and she really didn't wasn't so integral in the whole portion of the movie, unless they're gonna
Rose,
which is clearly now this vehicle for this potentially new Lando show where he was like, so where you from, kid? Why don't we go find out? And it's like, as a Lando, don't fuck the fucking 18-year-old girls. Relax, buddy. Take it easy. Your time has come, my man. I thought they were going to reveal the fact that they were related or something at then and there, but it seems like they're going to push forward and do this whole Lando show. So I wasn't a big fan of the whole landing party aspect of that.
Would you have been a fan if they were wearing masks, oxygen masks?
Yeah, I would have been a little bit better about that.
Okay.
There were portions of Oscar Isaac's performance that I really liked, and there's some portions that I was like, I'm not such a big fan of this portion.
Really? I thought he was great.
There was some notes there, and I thought the acting was so great. Like when he was like, everybody shows up, he's like, oh my God, thank God. He was all excited, and the acting just wasn't in certain parts up to par. I really think that Disney as a studio used the same plot device in the Avengers as they used in this movie, where it's like, oh, it looks like all hope is lost, and suddenly out of nowhere, a shit ton of the cavalry arrive, and here we go, and now they're taking care of business. So I thought from the fact that Avengers is in the same studio as Star Wars, they could have figured out how to do that a little bit differently. I don't know. That portion kind of didn't sit so well with me. I liked it. Yeah, it was great. But again, we saw it in Avengers.
Right.
And 6 months ago, we saw it in Avengers. Spiro?
Nah, man. I totally agree with everything you guys say, but I think that at the end of the day, man, this film was so good on so many levels that none of that shit really killed it for us, right? I mean,
do you think it was too much fan service? Because a lot of the scenes,
definitely, yeah.
But there's no such thing to me as bad fan service, in my opinion.
No, right.
A lot of the scenes were echoes from prior movies, which people are now looking down.
But it was done right, yeah.
But people looking down. Look, the one thing I can say about this from the outcome of this movie, it was the least money-making opening out of all three films in the sequel trilogy, right? It made $175 million, and right away, it's a failure to all the haters. People are complaining Rose Tico didn't get enough time in the movie. One person complained that why does Rey have to kiss the guy who's abusive to her in all three films and not the guy who was her best friend and showed her nothing but love and admiration because
it's called
he's black?
Forgiveness.
That's how girls like that shit, though.
Listen,
Wait a minute.
I'm just telling you what they say.
Wait. I'm sorry, man. Maybe I just missed something. Are we talking about Ray and Kylo or
Yeah.
Kylo, yeah.
Rose? And okay. Yeah. Listen, man. You know what? All these people, man. They like to fucking make a big deal out of abuse, out of this, out of that. But you know what? At the end of the day, there's something called forgiveness and redemption. You know, you can't have good without bad. And sometimes good comes out of bad. So shut the fuck up. Just let it go, man. And let that poor actress that played Rose Tico just leave her in peace, man. Let her go off and do something else. Don't call any unwanted attention that poor girl can't handle, because I'm telling you, if we find out a week from now that she committed suicide, it's on all you stupid fans that think you're fucking Che Guevara's fighting for a fucking cause, but in fact you're fucking doing more harm than you are good. So just shut the fuck up. That's
Agreed.
it.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Um, but at the end of the day, man, if you're a real fan and you enjoyed this, or if you didn't enjoy it, but you're civil about it, we appreciate your opinion. We want you to send your opinion to newforceorder at yahoo.com. We have some emails. We're not going to go into who's more over this week because we're running long on the show.
Yeah.
So we will push who's more over that we had for this week until next week. But I just want to read a couple of the emails. Let's see. Number one is from this guy, Marty Murray. New Force Order.
Mighty
Let's
Mouse.
see. Marty, Marty, Murray. Rise of Skywalker reaction. Loved it. I was so bummed from all the awful reviews, but I quickly seen their opinions were bantha fodder. The original trilogy came out during my childhood, so Star Wars to me is more than a feeling than just movies. Was this a movie perfect? Of course not, but it was close to it. Story layout was great. To me, it never seemed to let up from the start. What an emotional ride from the beginning to the end. And this fanboy definitely left the theater feeling like he had seen Star Wars. Thanks for the show, guys. Keep up the great work. Marty Murray.
Great
Well,
email,
Marty,
bro.
good email. Thank you. Next
We
one.
agree.
Rise of Skywalker is the name of the email from Bears Fan 510. Dear nFo family, I first wanted to say how much I enjoy the podcast. The fact that you put Star Wars over instead of yourselves and don't spew hate, except for the Ryan Johnson rants from the Dark Spiridon about his hate for Last Jedi, which are totally justified, is
Thank you.
appreciated. It sets you apart from a galaxy full of pretentious asshole fanboys that feel they owed their push instead of sharing
Yes.
the joy of what being a Star Wars fan means to us in the first place. I loved Rise of Skywalker. Felt it was total fan service and maybe even overdid it serving the true fans. It's if that's the only thing it can be found guilty of in a negative light, I consider that a major plus. I felt it didn't fight the hardcore fans, but embraced them and tried to deliver us a great movie experience in every way possible. Enjoyed the major focus of the movie was placed on Rey and Kylo. Thought they both killed it in their performances. The Emperor has always and will always be big time baddie in the universe, and the story was served well built on that. Excited to see it again after focusing on the broad strokes so I can watch for the finer details. Well put, bud. As I write this, I feel I'm starting to get into Han's territory in length, so I will end in saying Star Wars is alive and well. And please continue to keep up the good fight on the podcast. You all bring joy to my life. Thank you, GGP, Spiro, and Doc. From day one listener, Michael Vorjic.
Yo,
Well,
can
there,
I
Mikey
just say,
boy. Thank you.
can I just, yeah, man, can I just say thank you, man? And you know what, man? It's emails like that that make me really appreciate and love Star Wars that much more, because it seems like all the real Star Wars fans are starting to come here. Some of them have been with us since day one. And yeah, man, thank you guys, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another action-packed, fully stacked, totally jacked edition of the New Force Order podcast. But before we sign off, let them know where they can find you guys at.
You could find me at Dr_Destroyo, DESTRROYO on Instagram, on Facebook, Alex Arroyo, and on Twitter, Alex Arroyo MD.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on Instagram, Spiro_A. More specifically for Star Wars, Darth_Spiridon, Handsome Reaper on Twitter. My Gmail, handsomereaper@gmail.com, where I welcome love mail, but most importantly, hate mail.
You can find me at Greek God Papadon on Twitter, Greek God Papadon on Instagram, Demetrius Papadon on Facebook. Pro Wrestling Tees / Greek God Papadon on the Pro Wrestling Tees wrestling store where you can buy t-shirts. Greek God Papadon is the YouTube page. You can find the three of us, most importantly, at nFo_podcast on Twitter, New Force Order on Instagram, official New Force Order on Facebook. Send us your emails for whatever reasons, just to talk shop about a galaxy far, far away at newforceorder@yahoo.com. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you loved episode 9, whether you hated it, whether it was just a fun time, what?
Before we sign off, I just want to send prayers and love to one of our boys, one of our faithful listeners.
Yes. Thanks, Doc.
Tim Gilby. Tim Gilby, the NFO is thinking about you and your family right now. We appreciate your support. We want to turn that support to you, my friend, in your time of need right now. We hope everything goes well with your family. We love you, Tim. We want to see you back listening to the podcast. So please send your prayers and love to Tim Gilby.
Absolutely, Tim. The force is strong with you. The three of us, our force is strong with you, and we wish you nothing but the best, and hopefully everything turns out for the best. And if you do need anything, just hit us up. We're here for you, bud. Just send us an email.
Thoughts, prayers, and a lot of strength.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're NFO for life.
That's
okay?
for real.
And that's the truth. You don't just have to buy a t-shirt from us to be
a misspelled shirt to begin with too, so we're all right.
All right, kayfabe, bud. Regardless of that, listen, we love the fans, because without the fans, we don't have a show. And whether or not we bust your balls when you guys write in, whether or not we call you guys scruffy nerf herders, we do this for you. We do this for us. We do it for everybody who's a fan of Star Wars, because the New Force Order will never get themselves over on the expense of Star Wars. We will continue to get Star Wars more over with the fans. That is our mission statement. That is what we're going to do. And for all you people going out there, oh, what does over mean? It means being more popular. So we won't try to get ourselves more popular on the expense of a galaxy far, far away. We will continue to make Star Wars more popular with you, the people, through our efforts, through our love, through our actions. Henceforth, excuse me. This has been another exciting edition of the New Force Order.
For life.
And that's just too sweet, baby.
Henceforth, execute Order nFo.
Your reign on the top was short like leprechauns as I crush so-called willies, thugs, and rapadons. Get in that ass, quick fast like Ramadan. It's that rap phenomenon, Don Dada. Fuck Papa, you gotta call me Francis M.H. White intake like toast, so iron. Was told in shootout, stay low and keep firing. Keep extra clips for extra shit. Who's next to flip on that cat with that grip on rap? The most shady, baby. Ain't no telling where I may be. May see me in DC at Howard Homecoming with my man Capone drumming fucking something. You should know my stilo. Went from 10 G's for blow to 30 G's a show to 4 G's with O's I never seen before. So, Jesus, get off the notorious. Keen us before I squeeze and bust. If the beef between us, we can settle it with the chrome and metal shit. I make it hot like a kettle kit. You're delicate, you better get who sent you. You still pedal shit. I got more rides to great adventure. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. All you heard was Papa, don't hit me no more. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. All you heard was Papa, don't hit me no more. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. All you heard was Papa, don't hit me no more. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. All you heard was Papa, don't hit me no more. On your mark, get set. When I spark, you wet. Look how dark it get when you mark for death. Should I start your breath or should I let you die? In fear you start to cry, ask why. Lyrically I'm worship, don't front the word sick. You cursed it, but rehearsed it. I drop unexpectedly like bird shit. You heard skip, stuck quickly for royalties and show money. Don't forget the publishing, I punish them. I'm done with them, son. I'm surprised you run with them. I think they got coming, cause they nothing but dicks. Trying to blow up like nitro and dynamite sticks. Man, I smoke hydro, rock diamonds, that's sick. Got paid off my flow, rhyme with my own clip. Take trips to Cairo, lay in with your bitch. I know you playing, you was rich, fucking prick. When I see you, I'm kicking the door, waving the 4-4. All you heard was Papa, don't hit me no more. Kicking the door, waving the 4-4. All you heard was Papa, don't hit me no more.